Hello out there. Do we have anyone here yet? Hello, Azzy. How are you doing today? Oh, everything okay? I mean, alive is good. More coffee, maybe? Although, you know, one can only have so much before it gets a little crazy, but... okay, good, good. I'm, I also just got my coffee here with me, so I'll be joining you. Do we have anyone else out there today so far? Don't be shy if anyone else is out there. Feel free to say hello. It's a very chill vibe here, you know. Even if you don't keep chatting all the time, it's always just nice to kind of, you know, to see if even if people are just kind of popping in and listening. It's I don't always. I'm not sure that the viewer count is always updating right on the spot. So sometimes I know I might miss people popping in and out. So if you're in here, if anyone else is in here, feel free to give a wave, say hello. Then you can always just, you know, pop it on in the background and listen in, podcast style. How is your apartment coming along, by the way, Azzy? I know you mentioned that you were building a photo studio, is that right? In your personal apartment, I think? Or maybe an FC room? Oh yeah. How's that coming along? So what do you have so far, if you don't mind me asking? And like kind of what do you have envisioned? Also, I see we have a couple more viewers in here, I think. Hello, I believe 2 other viewers? Possibly a little more, I don't know. Hello, welcome to the stream. Glad you could join us. Whomever you may be. For anyone just joining, just giving it a little bit of time, you know, here at the beginning, just catching up with some regulars and just giving a little bit of time for people to come trickle in. I know some people are kind of just getting off work or maybe tuning in from other places. And so, welcome for anybody who may be new. Let's see, is there a way for me to kind of like occasionally view who is actually in here? I guess I can pop open this user thing. Oh yeah, Azzy, if sometime, if you don't mind, I mean, oh, actually, wait, let's take a look here. Okay, so you have a basic area with the backdrop setup and a little lounge area. Okay, I mean, that sounds like a solid foundation. And to be honest, in an FC room, 2 elements might be all you can really manage with the item count, depending on how complex you want to get with the backdrop, right? Were you planning on doing just like really basic, you know, colored background and then just lights? Or do you actually want to leave slots to build a little scene, you know, within that backdrop, so it becomes like a dressed set instead of just purely lighting for your photos? I'm not sure. Have you seen the, you know, on Twitter and that kind of thing where people will build out little, you know, scenes and then do photo shoots with them, or invite other people to come to photo shoots? Basic color background. Oh, okay, basic color background. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. I think I think I mentioned to you, Azzy, that I was also thinking of building like some kind of a photo studio as well. Possibly we could do that on stream if people are interested in that. And I think that, yeah, whenever I do it, definitely, I think similar to you, I'll create a basic one initially, because I mean, you always want to have that nice foundation first, and then from there, though, I would probably want to leave at least, you know, 15 to 20 slots or something, so that we could be swapping in and out decor and stuff. And I think it'd be kind of cool to have like a group photo studio where we have regular themed backgrounds or something, you know, maybe every month or something, I try to swap in a new scene, right? So for, I don't know, maybe April, it's just like a spring background, right? But then maybe we get to things like holidays or Valentine's Day, and we have Valentine's themed background or Christmas background. And then it would kind of always be like a cool little thing that we could build out on stream together, you know, and it could be different every year, right? We can always rearrange the pieces and stuff. And then it would be something that people could look forward to taking photos in and hanging out with other folks from the stream on. So. All right. We might as well get started here too. So we had our aquascape we were building, and we had the other areas of the loft apartment here, which we haven't really been able to work on too much. So I really want to get to those today. Because something I realized too was we were kind of going really crazy on this aquascape idea, but I also wasn't really paying attention to the item count. And so, okay, that's not too bad. It's about 1/3 full of items right now, but we still haven't built like anything else that we had talked about. And so I do think that it's important then that we maybe hone in a little bit on what else we want to add in here before we get too much farther on the actual aquascape itself. Because I think easily I could blow 100 items on just that if I wanted to. Maybe like in the future that would be something interesting, you know, just take like a small house and just go super, super crazy on one micro idea. I know that some people on of the housing community have done that. Yeah, I think so, right? We can leave that there as like a placeholder and kind of helping set the mood and the tone, right? But I was thinking that we might want to build out just a little bit of the rest of everything in here, just so we don't end up with like, 5 slots. And then think, oh crap, right. It's just a blank box with this really nice one piece, but it has, nothing that holds it all together. Which is a valid, that's a valid way to build though. I know there are several people within the housing community who do these phenomenal, absolutely gorgeous builds. But then right? It is pretty funny because like, I'm not sure if you how many houses and stuff you might have toured Azzy or anyone else in here, but yeah, there's some people do these builds where they just box in an area of like a large, and they just take this tiny little box area, which is basically probably the size of this apartment, right? But within a large, and then they'll just build only in there. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. You can imagine the amount of detail, right? 400 items in the space here of an apartment. But then it's kind of funny when you load into the house because it's just a big empty house and this random like box in the corner, like way in the back or something, or like floated up in the middle. A lot of times they build in the middle of the large above the main staircase because that's a humongous area. Yeah, a large has 400 slots, right? So apartment, hold on, let me make sure on that. Yeah, so apartment has 100, small has 200, medium 300, large 400. Yep, yeah, and every single one of those 400 slots is used up in Ichi. And honestly, I could use 800, I could use 1,000, right? I had to block off so many areas when I was building Ichi Nightclub. Even in the areas that we have, there's so many other things, so many more things I could do that I would love to do if I just had infinite slots. If you think about it, right? Like just look at this, right? Look at this tiny little apartment that we have, right? There's like arguably like almost nothing in here right now. It's a really fancy aquarium and a few other things scattered around, and that's already a third of our slots, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people who are new to housing don't always. Hey, Roth, welcome. Speak of the devil, Roth cast up in the chat here, everybody. The owner of Ichi Nightclub and a good friend of mine, whom I built it for. We were just talking about how Ichi is capped out on item slots, 400 out of 400 used, and yet, and I think we did a lot of really good stuff with those 400 slots, right? But oh man, if we had 100 more slots, double the slots, oh my goodness, we would go crazy. There's so many other things we'd want to do. Build out Honey's little back bar area on the dance floor for one. There's a bunch of other little effects and stuff I'd love to add around the dance floor. And yep. Yeah. I think people who are new to housing to just it's a little hard to understand what that feels like though, right? Item slot wise, I think, because like 400 items actually sounds like quite a lot. Like it sounds like that would let you do a lot, and in a way it does. In some sense, there's a lot of people who are really good about using a lot of the bigger items and kind of the items even like as they are, right? So they don't make a custom desk. It's just, if I need a desk, there are desks in the game that they gave us. So if you do take it a little bit more like as they gave it to you, I do actually think that you easily can fill a lot of the space with 400 slots, but you just can't get all of the custom ceilings and the little details and stuff a lot of the time with that. And it's honestly surprising how fast you run out of slots, especially when you start getting into like these custom looks and stuff. You get like going on some idea about a little desk or a little kitchen sink or something like that, and then suddenly, boom, 25 of your slots are gone. And you're like, oh my God, right? And something that I always forget about, and I know is something I personally want to work on, is clutter within a build. Because a lot of times I spend a ton of time really thinking about the structure and the layout and the overall look of everything. But then I kind of neglect the stuff that makes it feel like someone actually lives in or uses the space. And you end up with this kind of, how do I put this? It's not a stock photo, right? But it's like the stuff you see on Pinterest, right? A lot of times you see like those beautiful, beautiful modern homes or whatever on Pinterest, but they're like really barren. So super stark. Like there's 0% chance that anybody actually lives in this space because there's nothing on any of the counters, right? There's nothing strewn anywhere. There's maybe there's like a carefully placed teapot on one of the tables, but like, there's no way that someone actually lives like that. And I think that's something that I really want to work on in general with the builds is getting better about that. I know a lot of the people on HGXIV, like Ashen Bride and Dividus Eulaster, they're really good about this, where they both make a really immersive, beautiful build, but then they also take a lot of time to put little touches of clutter around the building that makes it really feel lived in and like a place you'd actually want to hang out, and that a place that someone does hang out, not just a sterile box. Yeah, as you know, I think that's kind of the way to do it, right? Is you kind of just place things around where you think you would actually put them, and that adds so much like intrigue and storytelling to a build, right? Is your take on like, well, I would put books in this corner, and that would be a reading nook. It could just be a random side corner of the room, but like, if this was my house, I would have my manga all over the place here or something, right? Yeah, Roth, right? Laundry pile, something like that, right? It's just those little things, especially in an apartment or somewhere that's like supposed to be someone's living space, right? I mean, nobody wants to, okay, I want to say nobody. Some people maybe want to live in a hyper minimalist space, but like the vast majority of people, they have their little touches. They have their little tchotchkes and little, trinkets and keychains and action figures, right? I don't know. Collectibles, books, whatever, what have you. Oh, okay. Yeah, so do you have that, like, the open books and that? Is that part of Azzy's backstory, her lore, her whole vibe, right? I think this is something that really intrigues me too about being in Final Fantasy and building, as opposed to, some of the other platforms that enable building, but more, maybe not as much in a giant networked social space, right? When I say that, so I think like Animal Crossing, right? I've seen a lot of people do these really cool, amazing builds in Animal Crossing, and but I think it doesn't from what I can tell, it doesn't have as big of like an RP focused community within the Animal Crossing space. It's a little bit more like building your own personal island. I could be wrong about that, by the way. I do not pretend to be an expert on Animal Crossing or anything, but I think that's something that I found really interesting and unique about the Final Fantasy housing space, is that you kind of have this intersection between people who do housing as just a pure art form, right? Like purely as a creative release and an aesthetic thing and just a challenge to themselves. But then there's also the people who are making actual spaces for themselves to exist in because of the heavy RP focus in a lot of communities within Final Fantasy, with the nature of it being an RPG, a role-playing game, right? I mean, and I think that that's something that I've really enjoyed, is meeting people like you guys, Azzy, Roth, a lot of the people we've met through the nightclub scene, and just in general, people around the game, because I've never been someone who has done a lot of like RP roleplay of any kind, really, but you guys have a lot of that knowledge, and I've learned a lot, by watching what you guys are doing and hearing like feedback from what you guys think about when you're in space. And so, I'd love, as we build out things here on the stream too, that's something I would love for you guys to chime in on, or anyone here who happens to be here in the stream right now. If you are someone who has experience, not just in housing, but also housing or RP or any combination of that, I think that I'd love to have alternate inputs and thoughts about how to make things more immersive. Not just from building a space that, has cohesion to it, but I'm not the most experienced person when it comes to what makes a build feel believable and like a space you really want to like exist in from an RP standpoint, because you folks in the RP scene are able to really drop yourself into that mindset of really, really, letting your mind, be enveloped by the space completely and getting lost in the storyline of it. So any tips and any, thoughts to help create spaces that feel more rich and enrich that kind of roleplay experience, I think is wonderful. Because I think that's something I strive for in every build, regardless of whether it's for the nightlife scene or not. Oh, thanks, Azzy. I'm glad. Very happy with how Ichi turned out, and I've always been so happy to hear that a lot of you guys feel the same, I guess, and have enjoyed how we built that out and how it feels. And like, yeah, when we were building like Ichi nightclub, right, that was something that I thought a lot about. The spacing of stuff, the storyline behind why these things would have been built this way, even though, again, like the average club goer is just there to hear music and party or something, right? I mean, they don't necessarily need to all have read and memorized the encyclopedia, so to say, the blueprint about how a build is made. But maybe it's the designer-minded person within me, right? But the graphic designer, that is, who loves like UI, UX kind of vibe too. And similarly to user interface, user experience mindset, I think, I see a similar thing happen with these builds where I like to think that a lot of the thought that goes into how a user will probably experience this or what the storyline is of like what's supposed to be going on here, it translates even if someone is not consciously aware of it, right? Similar to if you interact with a bad user interface, you don't necessarily know what's wrong, but you probably just have like a hard time getting to where you want to go. But if you have a really nice interface, you probably just got there effortlessly and hopefully got the information or whatever you were looking for. And it's not something you necessarily go, oh, wow, I really love the way they designed that button. But it's something that just makes it all that much nicer. So I think, yeah, that was something, you know, with Ichi, we thought a lot about. Oh, Roth, yeah? All right. Cool. All right, well, I guess, yeah. So for anyone here who's maybe new to the stream or doesn't know, so I built a nightclub called Ichi Nightclub, which is of which Rothcast here in the chat is the owner. And we've been running it for about a year now. We actually just had our 1-year anniversary. And I also just debuted myself as a DJ during that anniversary event. And I've been looking to play again at Ichi, because that has always been a long dream of mine, right? Is not just be able to play music and share music that I really love with people I really love, but play in a venue that I made. I mean, that's, you know, that really lights me up, that idea. And it's finally something that can happen. So I guess I'll be playing again at Ichi on the 10th. That'll be a Thursday night, I believe. With the immersion though. Let me see this chat with the immersion. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll talk with you about like the timing on that. Maybe. Yeah, we'll have to discuss that a little bit, Rafa, on just the timing of stuff and see where we can plug stuff in. But that's really exciting. I'm really happy. Thank you for helping plug me in there. And yeah, I'm glad you think so. I'm glad that people feel so. If it feels effortless, right? Like even though, like when you walk in, you know, should we go to Ichi and just take a quick look at some of the stuff there as we're talking about it? I don't know. I do also know that Roth has mentioned, or we've kind of had some talks about whether we want to show Ichi or not, because yeah, I won't. How about we? Yeah, I think that might be kind of fun for some folks. We can just go quickly and just talk maybe a little about some of the storyline behind Ichi, right? Even if yeah, I won't get into exactly how everything is built or anything like that, so as to not so to say not reveal all the secrets. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to just document a little bit here on the stream some of the thoughts that go into Ichi, because I'm sure it is going to come up in the future. People wanting to talk about Ichi and just in general nightlife builds and stuff. Okay, I'll warp over there really quick, and then for anybody who's in the stream who saw the title and was like, honing in on that, don't worry, we're still going to be building. We'll come back to the apartment here and we'll keep building the artist loft and the aquascape and everything. But since we've been talking a bunch about Ichi, and I have never shown it on the stream so far, I think it'd be cool to just quickly pop over there and show a little bit of what we're talking about. Because, yeah, then people who maybe don't know can put a visual to everything we're talking about. And I am a bit lost, and my internet is a little choppier today, it looks like. I apologize for that. It seems like it's a bit sticky. That's okay, though. Hello, hello. All right. Oh yeah, I like this. I really like the way your character sits on this mount. I think it's so cool. Just this pose. It's very impractical because you get knocked off so easily, right? Like, but it looks cool as hell. It's like the superhero landing, right? Where it makes no sense, like from a practical standpoint, but damn, does it look cool. All right, but let's go inside the club. Actually, I guess we can start on the outside and then go inside, right? Why not? Also, I noticed that we have a couple more people here in the stream really quick. So I just want to say hello. I'm not quite sure who all of you are necessarily. I don't have a viewer that shows me exactly who's in the chat, but to anyone who has joined us, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us. We are currently outside the nightclub that I built for Rothcast. And yeah, we run for anyone who doesn't know, we run this nightclub weekly, and it's actually been blowing up a bunch lately. We've been having a lot of really good nights. I think we sold out, right? Rothcast for the first time, or quote unquote sold out, capped out, right? The space limitation of how many people can load inside a space. I believe we capped last Thursday for the first time ever, which is pretty crazy to think. Oh yeah, yes, that's so cool. Man, that's the dream, right? We built the club to be filled with people all hanging out and loving the night and dancing and partying with us. And so yeah, so since we were talking about it on stream, I wanted to show it off a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the thoughts I had as I was building it. We're not going to get into an actual break it down of all of the elements. Maybe that will come somewhere down the road, but I know, we don't want to reveal all of our secrets per se right from the get-go. I know that's something that we here at Ichi take very big pride on, is that we have a couple little unique build elements. But I will be just generally talking here from the outside into the inside of what I was thinking about, like kind of story-wise, lore-wise, experience-wise as we built this, right? So something right from the very beginning, right, was that I would make note of. Actually, let me tilt camera here so that we can get a better view. Okay, there we go. For anyone who doesn't know what I just did, if you type /tilt camera and then a value between 1 and 100, you can angle your camera higher than it normally would be. So I just did tilt camera space 75, and that pops my camera a little higher. So that way we can get this nicer view. So first things first is, when I was building Ichi, Roth already had this castle wall. In fact, I used to live right next door here. That is how I met Roth. Fun backstory. We both got our plots during the Housing Savage in 2020, where they released a bunch of new wards, and we were lucky enough to get plots right here along the Shirogane Beach, which is, if you've never been to a Shirogane Beach sunset, my God, you gotta go. Gorgeous. I I didn't expect to feel the things I felt, you know, watching the sunset in game. But man, is it gorgeous, and is it a kind of vibe? So anyway, I used to live next door here, and I became friends with Roth here next door. He had this big castle, and at some point, I started getting more and more into housing now that I had an actual house to build in, and eventually Roth and I were talking, and he said he wanted to build a nightclub, and I had ideas about wanting to build a nightclub, so I asked him, you know, hey, would you consider the idea of letting me build you the club, but giving me a lot of my own creative freedom to do whatever I want in some sense with it, but I will keep it in a theme that you want. Yep, that is true. One of the first things that was a staple of your house was the cold nights fireplace, and I kept that. I wanted to keep that when we were building out the exterior here. So right from the get-go, though, you know, he said he wanted an Eastern-themed club, and he wanted it to be like a high-end nightclub, right? So we had the castle walls. He said that wasn't changing. He really was adamant that it be a castle. Okay, so we have the castle. That's becomes relevant a little bit later on, besides the fact that it's literally just a big castle and that has that whole Asian vibe, right? So when I was building the outside, right, I wanted this to feel like a real like a red carpet in some sense, but the Eastern version of what it would be like to walk a red carpet up to, you know, a premium club, right? Because usually like in Vegas or other places, they have like a whole situation where you kind of are greeted at the entrance of a nightclub by this like walkway, grand walkway or something. So that was the idea with this, was people would queue up and have a place to line up that felt like like they were being led into something. And that's why a lot of the decor around here is all built around just this walkway, this sort of supposed grand entrance. And something like a small detail was that we got these I didn't initially have these trees. It was the more like brown looking wisteria trees. It kind of looks like these but in winter or something. But in both having those original trees and these trees, something that I thought about was like, from a immersive and roleplay standpoint, like I wanted to make sure that when you walk up to this entrance, that the trees weren't just blocking everything, right? So I spent a decent amount of time rotating and playing around with the position of the trees to try to make sure that when you walk up to this, if there's a whole bunch of people here and kind of with these lanterns and stuff, that you see that whole view, right? And that there isn't too much overhang because of how crazy big these trees are and how dense all of that foliage is. So I really wanted to make sure that there was this clean walkway that felt, you know, trimmed and gardened and like it was very purposeful from this vantage point. So I walked this a lot as my character, just to make sure that this felt how I wanted it to be from the player's perspective. And then, you know, it's something I've always enjoyed with nightclubs, especially when I've traveled. I haven't seen this as much in the US, but like, especially if I've gone to Asia, well, I think mainly Asia, but like also even parts of Europe, is that they have like a lot of nightlife stalls, like food stalls and stuff around. And sometimes it's right outside the club, right? And whether it's here in the US or there, wherever, I've always thought that was pretty cool. Like if they have like a patio area where they kind of sell food right outside the club, and which people who like need a breather or a smoke or whatever can go outside and they can go grab a pizza or something and then kind of hang out. So that was the vibe here. That's kind of what I was going for here, where these stalls and this fireplace is like a natural progression that you might take, or like you might walk up to the building, say, I'm going into a club. If you ever wanted a break though, you would have maybe remembered, oh, right, but they sell food outside. Like I could pop outside and have a chat with that person I just met or just you know, I want a breather or something. Hot dog sausage vendor. Yeah. Oh yeah, the dirty dogs, right? The bacon wrapped hot dogs. That's like a classic outside a lot of clubs, especially I've noticed in the U.S. And that, like, I think something too is like there's all the different types of stalls, right? But I think I very specifically looked for the food related stalls for one, because it doesn't really make sense to sell armor outside a club, right? I guess unless it's a battle club, like a battle royale club. But yeah, I wanted to have items that, or a food that felt like not only was it food, but also it would make sense that it would kind of be able to just hang out here. So for example, the meat stall might work if I had some kind of like a, I don't know, the barbecue set, right, to cook it and stuff. But it kind of is a little weird to have like a raw meat stall right outside a club and nowhere to cook it. So that's why I would choose things like fruit and bread, because it'd be pre-made and it would be, you know, easily edible by customers, and it wouldn't just be some weird gross raw meat. And the other side thing about this is originally I actually had the food stalls on the other side of this, like over here. But the thing is, that doesn't lead to anywhere. And in fact, it's an area where Roth really wanted to keep his garden elements. So because we wanted to keep the garden elements over there, we kind of pushed him off to the side, right? Because that's not really a feature of a nightclub. And I didn't want people to naturally be led to that area. So it didn't make sense to put things like a food stall that would draw people to walk that way. It's really just meant for like the owners to do their thing. So instead, I decided to put it on this side, which also serves as a natural walkway over to the fire pit, as well as the beach area. And once we kind of landed on this idea that we would want to build out the beach area, I also had the thought that wouldn't it be cool then if Rolf and I had long talked about this idea about collaborating and having this like beach party, because I lived here and he lived here. So we have this perfect little cove where we can just like throw our dance parties and stuff. And so since we talked about that, I knew that was going to be something that he did with the nightclub. And so I kind of had this idea of like the Namazu floats, right? Have always been something I really liked, but I thought they were a little weird if you just like plop them down in the middle of the lawn. But then I had the thought of kind of popping them out of the wall here. And then that way we can come back out here during the nighttime. But at nighttime then, when people are partying down on the beach and they look up at the house, they can see some extra stuff, right? It kind of has like a little something special that adds to the vibe of the night, that they have these like Eastern lanterns, and it feels kind of more festive than just being on any random Shirogane beach. And so yeah, the idea was that people would be led through a natural pathway made by the stalls, past the fireplace, kind of again illuminating the walkway, and then they could turn and see the lanterns and stuff, and then kind of just naturally find themselves at the beach. And that's kind of, yeah, the overall thought process behind the outside of Ichi. I don't think I've ever really talked about that aspect of it that much. I know I've probably mentioned some of the inside things on a number of occasions, especially to Rolf and Azzy here as the owners, but I don't know if I've ever talked too much about the outside. Have I? I don't know. Rolf, Azzy, have I explained all that stuff to you guys before? Maybe Rolf as I was building? I don't know. All right, let's go inside now. Okay. Well, I hope you learned something then. I hope you found out something, a fun little tidbit there, to tell people, or just to keep in your brain. Okay, so we are now inside Ichi nightclub, and first things first, right away. I mean, I wanted an impact point. This was One of the very first things when I thought about Ichi, when Roth asked me to build the club, a few initial things right away from the get-go, right, is I'm not going to use all the space. And I told him this up front. I said, Roth, I'm not going to use all the space. I'm definitely going to have to block off some of this, at least one floor, if not part of another, because there's just no way. And it's going to be Eastern. And in my brain, I immediately had this idea of wanting like a photo-worthy wall as you walk in. Like sometimes when you walk into clubs, they have like the logo and like a backdrop, and you take photos there, and it's kind of like this whole entrance area. So I felt like I wanted that, and then I knew that I wanted a sort of entrance into the dance floor main club room and have an impact point. Those are like the things I had in mind when I first built this place, when I first started. Yeah. Like yeah, we don't. I mean, when you say we use 35 to 40% of the actual club space, do you mean of the actual building itself, or do you mean of the actual space that even within the space that I built and blocked off? We don't even get to use all of it. Okay, yeah, the house. That is true. Yeah, we blocked off a lot of the house. Okay, but see, so to this point, right? Like, I mean, so something. Okay, I guess we'll talk a little more in high detail in a second, but to the point about like you having to block off a lot of the space in the house, right? So something, I knew this was going to happen. I knew we had to block off a lot of space in the house, but so in order to address this, and the fact that you walked up to a gigantic castle outside, right? And you know, as we saw earlier, it is the Shirogane Castle walls, which is ginormous, right? So something from an immersion standpoint that I wanted to also be aware of was, even if on a subtle level, if people walk up to a gigantic castle and then they walk inside and it feels like a small box, that's kind of weird, right? That, you know, no one's going to call the police on us for that, but like it probably is a little bit like, oh, that's kind of, you know, I see you blocked off all the space, you probably had to. So I wanted to try to make elements that addressed this, and so this is why I built this, right? It's just a simple door that you know I blocked off here, but the idea behind both the door and also this elevator here, we're going to get to that in a second, but the idea behind this is just creating the illusion that there is more to this space, like that the rest of this place is quote unquote built out, but you just are not supposed to go there. Right, so yes, you did walk into a castle. Yes, there is a lot more way above you. In fact, it could be all the FC rooms and everything like that. And it's not that it's not there. It's just you're not supposed to go there. And so that's why like when you walk in here, I think a lot of people probably just walk past this and maybe don't think about it. But I like to think that from an immersion standpoint, on a very subtle level, it clues you in that there is more here, right? That your brain might believe a little bit that it's not just a small box that we've blocked off and there's nothing behind there, but that in fact it would continue, but perhaps because of night clubbing hours, it's just closed off to you. And the same thing here, with using this as an elevator, and I do want to give a credit right now. So this elevator design is not mine. I modified it a little bit, but the inspiration of this is from Dividus of HDXIV. So shout out to Dividus, his Garlean Ironworks build that he built, I mean, way before we ever actually even went to Garland Mall. He built this 2020, early 2020, mid 2020. I forget, I don't know the exact time frame, but he made an incredible display of Garlean and metalwork, Garlean technology and metalworking. And I remember seeing his concept there for an elevator. And when I was building Ichi, I was kind of really stumped actually when it came to like, what do I do with FC rooms? I kind of wanted to do something interesting there. And so I had the thought of, well, we are in a giant castle, and that would be really annoying. Like since we're building a modern nightclub, it'd be really annoying if you went into a modern, really, really tall building or castle and you had to walk up the stairs, right? That would be extremely aggravating. And also if you're drunk, then like that's all kinds of problems and like safety hazards. So it makes sense to have an elevator. And that's why I thought, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna pull a version of Dividus's elevator in here, because I think this also further helps to sell the illusion that this place is a lot taller and has a lot more going on than you're privy to. So when you walk up to there, it doesn't just feel like, oh, I'd walk up like a flight of stairs to maybe a couple rooms. No, right? Like if some place is a giant castle you walked up to and there's an elevator in there, your brain probably believes, oh yeah, there's probably like, you know, 20 floors to this or something. So yeah, you know, that is all like the back lore or storyline of like what's supposedly happening here when you walk in. And I hope that it sells that. I hope even on a subtle level, right? People like in this whole entry area, to be honest, most people don't ever really stay much up here. I mean, they probably just walk in and go to the club. But all of this up here was like carefully thought out in my brain of like really selling this idea that you've walked into this building that has a nightclub in the basement, but is like a functioning full building outside of that. So, you know, here we have like even like coat check, right? I think again, most people probably don't even look inside here like to see what's going on, but it's coat check, right? She's got a chest if you are like VIP or something and keep some of your valuables, or maybe like keys to certain private areas or something. There's the coats. We got an attendant. There's like a little slit here at the very bottom where you would be passing your ticket or money and coats into her, and you know, over to her for her to hang up and then getting them back. And I even thought like, okay, it doesn't make sense to put her in an enclosed box, because I do see that a lot too, right? Sometimes you see like an NPC and they're just in a box somewhere, but there's no door into the box. So it's a little weird in my brain at least. How did they get back there? Do they just always jump the wall, or like, you know, how are they getting back there? And so even though again most people probably won't see it, but if you look, I did actually put in a sliding door back there. So you could actually get back there yourself, but also just in theory, that's how this NPC, this lady, this attendant gets back into the coat check. Same thing with the bartender here too, which in theory we could have a real bartender here, but you know, same sliding doors to like give the illusion that mirrors this, but also, you know, lets you know, oh, that must be where the employees go back there after they're done or when they need to restock or something. So it's all trying to still give that illusion that this is one continuous space and that there's a lot more behind the scenes, there's a lot more areas you could go, but just why would you? Or you're not supposed to go back there, right? And that is, yeah, that's like the thought process behind the doorways and the sort of general structure up here. I saw it, I think is Azzy or Roth, you guys mentioned the otter lanterns, and yes, this is something that was a touch from when I first started building. Roth had these in, and I mean, they're just so cute and they fit perfectly, right? So I left them in, and I think that they work perfectly for this framing, right, of this entryway here. When you first walk in, they greet you. They're the greeters. Oh God. I always give them little fist bumps and stuff when I walk in here. I tell them they're doing a great job. So I think the NPCs, they know they're loved. They know they're loved, Roth. Yeah, so actually, you know, besides this looking cool, like part of the reason I chose like this wallpaper and kind of just the look of this was, in my brain, it was the photo shoot moment, right? It was, you'll see this later, but I have the Ichi logo, which is a light bar down near the dance floor, but originally the light bar was going to be here at the entrance. You know how like when you walk into a nightclub and a lot of times there's like the logo just like slams you in the face right as you walk in? That was the idea here. I was going to put the Ichi logo here, but it didn't work out and it made more sense downstairs, and you'll see why. But I still wanted this like area where in theory like you'd walk in with your friends and like, oh, like packed club, VIP night, and like you'd want to take a photo that isn't on the dance floor. This is where you'd do it. That's the vibe here, right? It feels like that, you know, like photo, they always have like that wallpaper, like repeating pattern wallpaper for photo backdrops. Boom, there it is. And this entrance area was just honestly something that I had always thought would be cool. I just I love greenery. I'll repeat that probably a bajillion times on my stream, but I love greenery, and so this was like an experiment of like how to build that into Ichi and create this kind of interesting, unique entryway that really set the tone. You know, oh, like anticipation, right? You walk into this place and it kind of has this. Originally I wanted it to feel like you're like walking over like a waterway bridge or something, and didn't quite work out exactly like that. But that's kind of the vibe here, right? You're walking across some threshold into something that feels, you know, larger than life. And something that shout out to HGXAV again, but from watching their when I was watching their podcast, I think I was watching it probably while I was building this, and one of the things they were talking about too was how important it is to have changes in level, like in height, throughout a build, like how much that changes the feel from just a standard, you know, like everyone knows how housing works if you've been in houses at all, and kind of like where the stairs are, where the level changes are naturally in a house. So I know they were talking about how much even just a subtle change in level feels different when you're in a house, and you have like a custom amount of like level change. And so that was something I was thinking about a lot when I was building this, is like this idea of that you're raised up, right? You're like walking almost on like I don't know, some kind of a temple deck or something. It just doesn't feel like the standard floor that you walk into, right? It feels a little bit unique and different. And then you actually are able to step down into the other areas, right? Like distinctly stepping down besides just the actual stairs. And again, it's like a really subtle thing, but it's just to give people a little bit something different, a little bit of a different flavor than what the average, or like, you know, something that they may be used to feels like. And oh, I guess I have to mention this, but you know, bed meta. So I talked about this last time, and for anybody who doesn't know, bed meta is basically this idea of when you build custom ceilings or things above the player, especially floating and glitching stuff up, most items, your camera, the player's camera, can kind of pop up through those items because nothing stops them. So that freaks people's cameras out a lot, and it can cause, you know, people to get a little bit nauseous and stuff in builds. So a term and concept that I learned again from HGXIV is bed meta, which is sort of the community coined term for using beds above, or like either above or as part of a custom ceiling to block the camera from going through. Because if you look here, I'm scrolling actually out right now. So like right now here, if I scroll this way, I can scroll in and out, right? But if I look up and I try to scroll out, I cannot. At some point, I can scroll down a little bit, but my camera stops. My camera will not go through the beds because there's a collision aspect where your camera like cannot go through beds. For whatever reason, they coded specifically beds like that. Like it can go through lofts, but it cannot go through beds. And I'm sure there's a dev reason why that works, but you know, we work with what we got. So that's why the term bed meta is used. And in here, I went to the nth degree with that, and the whole ceiling is beds. Specifically because I wanted to create that intimate atmosphere, right? I think something really important with clubs is that it should not feel cavernous. right? It should not feel like this humongous cavernous space. Okay, unless it's maybe like a warehouse or something, but like for the average nightclub, you want that intimate feel, right? You want it to feel packed, right? You don't want it to feel empty, and you don't want people to feel like they're in some crazy cavernous space, because they feel very exposed then, right? Like they feel like everyone can see them. But if it's kind of dark and it's kind of intimate, it helps you, you know, drop all those walls and that guard a little bit more and feel more comfortable and, you know, more able to dance and enjoy yourself and be free. So to create that space, I knew I wanted to lower the ceiling. And I knew, though, that if I did a certain kind of fake ceiling, the camera would be going all over the place. And that my slots were very limited because of all the stuff we wanted to build below with the actual club room itself. So I just went with beds on here. And honestly, the look of the beds actually, I think, adds a great amount of texture to the ceiling, like visual interest. And I layered them, you know, I really nudged them around just to get them all lined up just the way I wanted it and the height that I wanted. But yeah, it creates this natural immersion where your camera will not break out of these walls. And so the player, from the moment that they walk into this build, their camera snaps down to this, you know, this height. It won't break them out of this, and they're ideally immersed from the moment they step in here. And the beds continue pretty much through this entire space. So unless you really, really try to break your immersion, hopefully it naturally remains unbroken. And so then you can walk in here. Okay, finally, let's get to the club room. Okay, so, you know, like a lot of clubs that are built in hotels or whatnot, right? There's usually like a hallway or a walkway that leads to the actual club. And here you'd hear the boom, 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 right? You know, as you walk up. So we wanted some lanterns here to just lead the way, to clearly indicate this is where you want to go, and to give lighting so it's not a creepy dark hallway. And then, remember I said at the beginning, like, something I really wanted was like I really wanted to make sure that as you walked into the club, it had this like bam, like impact view moment, right? And this is that. So you walk in, you turn this corner, and you go boom, and you see the whole club. And I walked this stairwell so many times, so many times, just to make sure that nothing, like all these ceiling bits and all the everything, that nothing was obstructing this view, and that like everything could be seen from this vantage point, because I really wanted anybody who was walking into the club, even, I mean, whether it's the first time, especially the first time, but even if it's on other occasions, I really, really wanted to key in on this, where you walk in and you get this grand view that really lets you take in all the people dancing around, but also just the whole club itself. And it really just supposed to hit you like, boom, wow, holy crap. And then you continue though, and you step down into it through the threshold here, so to say, of the lights, and then onto the dance floor. And you are in Ichi nightclub. Boom, boom, boom. Here we are. And let's see. I'm glad to hear that, Azzy. That is, yeah. I hope it's something that, if it's your first time, it wows you, and if it's your umpteenth time, that it feels like I'm home. You know, it feels like, yes, this is, you know, I missed this, right? I missed this view. You know, like it's kind of like walking in Disneyland, right? Like, you know, when you, if anyone, I mean, I assume probably a lot of you who have at least seen Disneyland or walked, maybe hopefully been to Disneyland, but same thing, right? Where you, Main Street, right? Like Main Street Disneyland, the original Disneyland, or any copies that follow the main Disneyland formula. There's that moment, right, where you like kind of walk through the ticket area, and you walk under the bridge and stuff, and you kind of see some of the shops and stuff, but then you hit that Main Street and bam, you have the castle, right? It's this whole thing. It's this big grand view of the castle and everything. And I think that's kind of like the same thing, right? Where, I think a lot of people really connect with that moment, right? Where they get to Disneyland and they go, ah, yeah, I'm home. Look, there's the castle. This is the place I love so much. And so I'm not going to break down every bit in here, but just some general thoughts. So first of all, something that that I thought a lot about, that is probably not something that people may visually recognize right away, is the spacing in here and the size of the dance floor itself. So something that I personally noticed as I've walked in real clubs, like in real life, but also in Final Fantasy, I kind of toured around to some different clubs at the time when I was building this, and even before that, just from personal experience. And I noticed that like when people had this whole bottom floor open, and if you've ever been in the bottom floor of a large when it's just open completely, it's humongous. If people kind of had the whole floor open, a lot of times it kind of ended up having that cavernous feeling that I personally am not so in love with. Like, again, I kind of really believe that nightclubs ought to feel really intimate. And so something that I thought about when I was building this right from the get-go was like, I feel like I need to block off a bunch of the bottom floor here to really make sure that this place feels intimate and cozy, and it doesn't like it should feel like if there's 10 people dancing in here that it's full enough, right? Like it feels like an intimate little dance party. It doesn't feel like it's empty, right? Like just, oh, you couldn't fill your club or something. So but at the same time, I wanted to make sure that if we capped out, if we sold out, that it could fit 100 people, right? And so I played around with, even though there wasn't actually 100 people, I had to sample and pretend like they were in here. I had to imagine in my mind what it would be like if there's 10 people out here or if there's 100 people out here. And so I played around with the positioning of like this fake wall. Surprise, it's fake. That's not actually the real wall there. I just danced around here myself, on the dance floor as I was moving the initial framework here, just to figure out how the spacing felt. And tried to imagine 100 of me running around in here, or 10 of me, and just to see if it would be okay or not. And I know Rolf even came down at some point, and initially was a little concerned because he said, is that going to be big enough? Like, is this? It feels a little small. Like, I want to make sure that there's room in case we sell out, right? Because we have big dreams here, and I had this very distinct conversation with him where I explained, hey, I really think that we want to block off a lot of this because, yeah, we might cap out, but if we do, great. It's going to feel like that like packed club feel, right? Which is like iconic of a nightclub, right? It feels very packed, even though some people don't really like that, but like that is part of the nightclubbing experience. It's feeling like you're in a packed room. If it's full, it'll feel packed. But if it's empty, it also won't feel cavernously empty. Like because it's a little sad, maybe. If you've ever seen a nightclub like really early on in the night, and if it's a really big nightclub, and there's like 5 people on the dance floor or something, or if you've just been in some place that's, where no one's dancing yet, it feels a little awkward. If there's a humongous cavernous space and there's just 2 people out there, right? But if it's a little bit smaller and more intimate, not as big a deal. That doesn't get blown out of proportion as much. So that spacing, I think, is something that I thought a lot about, and I would encourage anyone who watches this in the future who's a nightclub builder, I'd encourage to think about that kind of thing, about thinking about the spacing of your layout and how you'll fit people, where people would naturally be. In this case, in Ichi too, right? I knew the dance floor itself might be a little bit small if we were to ever cap out, but if so yeah, if people, even if the dance floor capped out, you'd still have this area above next to the seats that people could dance on. and even like above here, right? There's all these areas above the couches. And the stage, actually, too, right? So, I mean, realistically, there's so many places that people can dance, and we proved this the other night. We capped out, and there was still room. People could have moved around, and there could have been more people on the stage, there could have been more people other places. But I think everyone had plenty of room to dance, plenty of room to go wherever they wanted to, but it also felt totally full. If you took, I'll post a screenshot of that night soon. But I think it proved my point. I want to say, I think it felt really good. You can ask the owner here, Roth, and the co-owners here, Roth and Azzy, what they thought about that. Hey, all right. I'm glad. And let's see. I could probably keep going on and on about this place. And I will maybe on a future stream, but let's just say a few more things here for now. But the light bar here, this was the thing I was talking about. So this original idea was this was at the entrance. You walk in, and for anybody who is watching this and doesn't know, or watches this in the future, so Ichi is Japanese for one, and the way you write Ichi in Japanese is just a dash. It's a line, and so that's why it's called Ichi Nightclub. Was partially because I had this idea that I really wanted to create some kind of an iconic looking symbol that people would see in their screenshots of the place and instantly be able to recognize where that screenshot was taken. And at the time, I had this idea of creating this light bar. And then as we were building out the club and trying to think of how we wanted to brand it and what we wanted to call it, it came across my mind that actually, what about just Ichi? Because that is the symbol for one, Ichi. And originally it was going to be upstairs at the entrance, but when I kind of thought about what should the stage be, I realized it really always belonged here. So that way, shots of the club always had the symbol of the club, bam, right there, calling out to you. And it's right behind the DJ too, right? I wanted DJs to be able to, they probably play in a lot of clubs, they probably have lots of screenshots of themselves all over the place, but if they're ever in Ichi, probably that big, humongous golden light bar, the Ichi symbol, would be in their screenshots. And they'd know exactly where they were that night. And yeah, there's our little preview of Ichi. Again, I think there's more we can talk about there, but I also know that we want to get to some building here, and we're already into the second hour here. So one last look here. Again, maybe we can delve into even more stuff if people find this interesting and want to know more in the future. But yeah, that's our little tour of Ichi Nightclub. If you are curious to know more about Ichi and its address and then find out more about it, Azzy, can you, if you want, can you drop the Ichi Discord link there in the chat? And also, I linked to you can find my post about it on my Twitter if you want to take a look at that as well. Some screenshots of the place. And maybe I can add a link to the Discord even on as a reply to that post or something, but yeah. Yeah, here, let's see if Azzy can just drop a link to the Ichi Discord. If you want to come club with us, join our Discord, and we'll always be posting announcements about. There we go. There's a Discord. If you want to come check it out in person, we usually close the club up when it's not clubbing hours. So you can't probably just pop in here anytime you want, but come join us for clubbing night. You know, come a little early if you want it to be less crowded and you want to just take a look, or stay after maybe. But yeah, also just come party with us. It's a great time. So you can find the info there. Would love to see some more people come out to that. But okay, let's get to what the title has promised here of building this artist loft and the aquascape. So I'm not sure if we have anyone new out there, but hello if anybody has joined us and I haven't either seen you or if you're just new here. So we just did a little tour of the nightclub that I built, a little breakdown. If you didn't catch some of that, you can always look at the VOD later. And we're back here in the FC room that we're building out into an artist loft. And last time on stream, we built out this whole section and we were playing around with creating an aquascape. And the full VOD for that is actually up on my Twitch too. So if you are curious how we went from a blank room to this, you can take a look at the Twitch VOD there and check that out. But I made note that we also wanted to build out these other areas of the room so that it doesn't just feel like a random thing hanging out in the middle of nowhere. So we're gonna try to make some moves on that right now. So something I wanted to try actually right from the get-go here was we want to go for this industrial, I'm gonna call it industrial green, because industrial sometimes gives the impression that it's really sparse on like nature, I think. A lot of times I kind of feel like that could be a little confusing. You know, industrial man-made stuff. But I actually am very interested in this idea of figuring out how to blend the most beautiful elements of nature and the natural aspects of stuff into the aesthetically pleasing aspects of industrial design. I think there's a lot of really great industrial texture and stuff that you can bring into stuff, but I think that there's a way to marry that with nature where it kind of feels not so, it's apocalyptic is not the right word, but like it doesn't feel so totally man-made, just all sterile or anything, right? And I think though, to help sell the industrial side of this place a bit more, because right now it's all mostly wood and natural elements, I wanted to try putting the Garlean concrete walls. Oh, here we go. In here. So this is the new, for anyone who doesn't know, we have wallpaper, and wallpaper in this game that we can switch, and it changes the default walls of a building. And we recently got these concrete ones from Garlemald, which are very much this modern concrete look, right? For anyone who was here on the very first stream, which unfortunately I forgot to record, so we don't have a VOD of that, but there's like ways that you can create a concrete wall like this, and I did way back before we had this wall. But this is the look I was referencing. It's this concrete look where it's like this concrete tiling and it has these little areas of, I think it's probably where the bolts or something go to help fasten it in. Or maybe they're tension relieving points. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not an actual architect in real life, by the way, so forgive me for any architects who may watch this, who may be watching this or watch this in the future and who are like, what? That's not, yeah, okay, I'm just speculating here, so. But concrete wall, I think that's a kind of cool industrial. What do you guys think? I think that helps give it that industrial loft feel. And we can always change this later too. So Might run with this for right now. And originally I was thinking of maybe putting a kitchen here. Kitchen or like a something workbench area. But I'm realizing we probably won't actually have enough slots for that. So now I've been thinking, okay, how can we get around this and create something with not too many item slots that feels along with that sort of immersive vibe. And my thought was maybe we can do like a giant bay window or something. Maybe not bay window is not the right word, but you know, in a lot of industrial lofts, they have those humongous windows because it's a lot of times it's like a repurposed factory or something, right? And they have those humongous big bright windows. So maybe along this wall we could just create like a big window wall, and that would add a lot of natural light that would shine in here and make it feel less like a dungeon, right? We don't want this to feel like a dungeon. We want it to feel like a very natural, welcoming environment. So I know adding, you know, industrial and concrete and stone and stuff sometimes might make it feel dungeony. So let's counteract that a bit by trying to bring some light in potentially. I think we're gonna do that with trying out some windows here. Let's just store this. Okay. Windows. Okay, let's try taking a look at the windows. To be honest, I feel like it's something in this vein already. You know, these imitation square windows. Yeah, like this is probably not the right vibe. Also not the right vibe, right? Square shutter ones might work, although they don't quite feel industrial. I think these ones are cool and very versatile, but they are very small. So we need so many of them to really cover the space and create the look we're going for. So probably not these. Oh, wow. That's right. We have this humongous new thing. Big slanted wall. Probably not this though, right? Maybe, actually. Oh no. Let's see. How does that look? It doesn't really have like the industrial kind of vibe that we're going for, but it could be something interesting maybe. We'll keep that in mind. Fool's Threshold actually might be interesting because it does tie in with the overall Asian look of some of the other pieces in this FC house build. This sort of the collective build of the FC house has a very Asian-y vibe to it. So we might use the Fool's Thresholds, and I'm thinking it's either that or the imitation square windows. And we'll have to play around with whether we flip them around or not because of the light rays. Because sometimes the light rays coming out of the window can be really beautiful, but they also can get a little wacky and crazy depending on, especially like if we're gonna make a whole wall of windows, it might get really crazy looking and be a little too much. So we might flip them around so that we still get the glow of the window, but we don't actually get the light rays. And that is, oh yeah, I mean, I guess just also if anyone doesn't know that you can do that, that windows emit light rays, but not both directions. So if you take a window and then you flip it around backwards, so like, you know, this side will shoot rays out. This is the normal side. but the backside of this will not. So then if you ever want windows that illuminate but don't actually fire the rays out, flip them backwards and freeze them in place. And bam, there you go. You get that effect. Yes, it is very convenient. It's very useful too. It's also useful, mind you, if you ever use Windows for things like trimming on stuff, right? So the example I gave so far is if you want a window that functions like a window, right? You just want the light coming in, but you don't want the rays. You flip it backwards. But it's also very useful if, for example, some people use, like, for example, these windows, and there's like this wood, the wood at the top, and they'll use it as like a trim in a kitchen or something, right, along the counter. And same thing though, right, where it'd be really weird to have light rays firing out of part of your kitchen sink or something. So they flip it backwards, and it points into the wall, and now you just have the trim, and you don't have to worry about the light rays shining through. So that's something really good to keep in mind if you ever are using things like these for trim or added little decor elements, is keep in mind the way the light rays fire. And I didn't discover this, but someone else made I probably should, I need to find the reference for this, but the way that to be honest, I think probably FFXIV has a diagram about this on their website. But sorry, the way windows work in the game is windows on the left, or the east and the west walls, do show light rays, but the natural windows on the very back do not ever show light rays. So just like fun fact there is they will illuminate, those back windows will illuminate, but you'll never have to worry about light rays coming through the natural back windows. But if you're in in an apartment here, you don't have any windows on the side here, but in a house or mansion or cottage, the other sizes of the house, you do have windows on the sides of the walls, and the east and the west ones will show light rays, and there's like a specific way that's calculated as the sun rotates around. Even the side south, right? All three of these sides, east, west, and south, show light rays at specific times of the day, and the light will move around throughout the supposed exterior of the house and shine through. But the very north windows don't ever show the light rays. So, useful to keep in mind as you think about lighting within your build. Let's see. So let's maybe we can plop a couple windows down. Let's see, should we plop some windows down? Let's try. I know we can get fullest thresholds from the Dome and Enclave, so let's just grab some fullest thresholds from the Dome and Enclave and use those for now. We might change them later, but we kind of just want to get the idea of having the big windows and see how that feels like. Maybe 8. Let's try 8 for now. They're cheap. It's easy to get, so we're just gonna run with that. I think something that's very important to keep in mind as you're building is to keep just trying things and knowing that you can always change them later and not to get too hung up about all the specifics on something, especially when you're first getting started. Both with literally understanding how housing works, but also just when you're building a new build. I think it's more important that you start getting a feel for how the room should be spaced out and not worry so much about all the specifics of exactly which items need to go where and that kind of thing. So let's go here, here. Is that okay? There we go. Big not fan of the way that that overlaps, but hey, we can always put a false wall there and get. Actually, wait. You know what? Why not? Let's just put a false wall. Partitions. Okay. Let's grab these back to inventory. Oops. Okay. So something that is nice here if we do some partitions. Oh, you know something? Is that gonna be, oh, it's still got the lip right there. Okay. New thought, perhaps we need to use stage panels and then trim it a little bit. Okay, but my original thought was, creating a fake wall here too also lets us close the space off more so we don't actually have to build in as much of a space. So, big thing with housing is I don't know how to fill the space. Cool, just close the space off and condense your build a little bit in and maybe problem solved. You know, not having to, if there's like a detail, like a cabin or something, instead of having to do 1 cabinet, 2 cabinet, 3 cabinets along here just to get it to hit the side wall, if you just close the space in, you probably have 1 or 2 less cabinets you need to place. So, oh right. Okay, we cannot naturally place these on these walls, but we can store them and then storage place them. Okay, so we go. Let's just try. Maybe we can try them on the floor. I don't know. All right. Don't want to see that little bit of the window hanging at the bottom, so let's start here. I'm just going to roughly place these. Let's just use someplace escape. Ugh. Really don't like that one. Okay. New thought. Pivoting all the time, right? That's just part of the thing. Stage panel. Let's grab stage panel, which will give us that nice clean look. None of this overhanging lip thing to break the window. And let's put this close to these and let them snap forward, because if we put this close, wall-mounted items snap forward. So if I do this, I hit escape, boom, they snap forward. Now we have them on the stage panel. And I could, I think, do this backwards as well. I could snap them to other things that, if I needed to snap them yet again somewhere else. Okay, so we probably will have a counter here. So I'm thinking now that we will, more important that this touches the ceiling. Very frustrating that we cannot just snap these to a wall. Even like they're wall mounted, but they won't snap to our fake walls, which is kind of weird, but all right, whatever, he knows what it is. Here we go again. Oh gosh. Store, 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 store. Okay. Whoa. Right? Isn't it so weird, Azzy? I mean, it's like a very... It's a... It just... It confounds me, right? Why would a wall item not be able to snap to the wall? Switching that one out because that one was dyed. So I'm going to move this. Oh yeah. Oh. Vanity. Oh, like a vanity mirror. Oh yeah, yeah. You know something that's helpful if you're floating a lot of like windows and paintings and other things, wall-mounted things. A trick that I picked up on that is that you use the wood slat partition, because then you can see through the wood slat partition. But it's really bulky to use like stage panels or other walls and stuff to try to stick things onto. But wood slat partitions, you can stick things onto and then you still can like see through them. And that is very nice and very helpful. I don't have one here, but I don't know, maybe that will help you in the future, or if you ever need to be freezing stuff that's wall mounted. Highly recommend having a wood slat partition in your arsenal to just use as a placement tool, because of how you can see through it. It's really thin and it's very small in its footprint, so it just doesn't get in the way. And also, like, you know, if you use like stage panels and other fake walls, because they're so bulky, you might snap or like snap things that you don't mean to snap. But since the wood slats are pretty tiny, it's a lot more predictable what they're hitting or not hitting. So that is something that maybe will help in the future if you're doing more of that. But I totally know the feeling. I know what you're talking about, right? Is that like just the pain of trying to get things to just play nice, and they just don't want to stick, and they just don't want to snap properly. Okay, let's try this. You know what? Okay, so here's like a thing. But you know, do we have these go all the way up? Where do we stop this? And I think maybe that. I'm not like a big fan of how that would. It's like there, right there in the top left corner, it kind of runs into the pole, and I don't like that. But doing like, if I go like this, then the window hits the top of the ceiling. If I go like this, there is like a clean break there, like at the top, but I feel like most trimming on most houses in real life is the trimming or the crown molding, right? Sticks out away, like in front of where the window would be. It wouldn't recess backwards like it's doing right there. So I think my solution here would be up here, one over, and let's try it on this side, right? Like so, if it was, just see what would happen if we do it like this. Okay, so on this side too, right? Same thing. Does that create a weird seam? It kind of does, but to be honest, that might be okay. I think we're gonna... Let's see. Oh god. My camera's freaking out right now, hold on. So if we use the same thing... Oh, there we go. Okay, actually that works out. That's fine. Okay. Yay! Viewers learning something. Perfect. That's the goal. Hey, if it helps, I'm happy to share. So. I think that's like, yeah, just, you know, I make no show to try to hide this, but like, yeah, a lot of like, what I would say inspired me to do these housing streams is me learning from FFXIV's housing streams in a similar way, where I would put them on in the background while I was building. And even though I didn't necessarily listen to every single thing that they said in every single one of the episodes, there were so many little tidbits and stuff that I would hear them talk about, and I would just be like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And so after, you know, watching quite a number of their stuff, quite a number of their podcast episodes, I picked up on a lot of these little intricacies and tricks and stuff, and I'm still learning new stuff all the time. But I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to also continue that and try to give back, is by sharing tips and tricks and thoughts that I have, with the hope that maybe someone out there, you know, would be building either with me on stream or watch the VOD later in the background while they're streaming late at night or something. I don't know. And maybe in a matter of, in some kind of, you know, perfect timing thing, the tip that I say on one of these things will be the very thing that helps them get unstuck from whatever they're working on. Okay, here we go again with, okay, how do we want to do this? I kind of, like, it could be a continuous thing, but I kind of like this idea of trying to keep that little gutter in between the little break here. In between, I kind of wonder how that will look. Again, we can always change later, but that's just good to go. Oh, that's right, we cannot place. But can storage place escape. Oh yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that share, Roth. And yeah, 100%. That is, yeah, I would be all night housing sometimes, and I would throw on FFXIV, or, you know, even like some Minecraft streams every now and then and stuff, and like just that build with me kind of energy, right? Or just hearing people doing creative work, talking about it, is really inspiring and very helpful. Okay, let's mirror this. Let us continue the look that we had in the other way. Okay, I can already tell that this is getting a little, like, potentially too Asian-y. Like, it's not really industrial feeling. It looks like an Asian place because of the aesthetic of those. But it gives us an idea. Okay, so let's move these, I think, out. They feel a little weird when they're like right up against the door there. And like, yes, that's like a lot of light. It's a little crazy. And I just realized too, I messed up the pattern that I had there. But right, you know what? Let's not fuss about that right now. So I think what we probably would want to do is frame this now. So we have these fake walls. And what if we like turn these to the side and create like a natural stop point? Right, because it's strange to have windows that just pop out of nowhere. But if you have some natural bracketing or something, then that might feel a little more natural. Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for showing that in there, Ezzy. Yeah, I think... Yeah, I mean, I think it will appeal to a small little audience of people, but hopefully it'll be of interest to them. And maybe they'll learn something or have a little bit more of an appreciation next time they come to Ichi, or different kind of appreciation, I should say. I think a lot of people appreciate Ichi for what it is, but perhaps they will have a new perspective. Okay, something I was just noticing here is this feels really tight in terms of if I walk in the door, that is really close. That is, especially since this side is still kind of open, that's really, really close to me. So I think we need to push back. That just feels claustrophobic or a little too encroaching. Let's put that spacing back in there. Let's see here. Just had a thought too. What if okay, so what if we have this? Now we got to figure out like a corner for this or something, right? I think that'd be kind of like just so the window doesn't have to extend all the way out here. Maybe we can figure out something there. And the natural thing that comes to mind is a slanted partition. So slant, we had these that got added, skylights, but we flip them backwards. We just get like a nice clean wall here. Again, with hiding, right? Here we go. We get light rays. Ah, turn it around. Boom. Gone. And there we go, right? So now we can have like a natural transition point between the wall coming out to here. So if we go like... Okay, well, we will connect that up there. Maybe if we had like that, then that, right? There. That feels like you walk into a room and there's a wall of windows with some pillars, right? I think. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that now feel a little bit more natural than the way we first had it? Thinking here. Right, and then we can even push that back a little bit farther since these can actually get pushed against the wall. So if we want more room on this side, we can. Then we still have our other spaces over here. But yeah, I think that's feeling pretty nice. And again, it kind of ties in that Eastern look with the rest of some of the stuff that we have going on in the FC. But we will have to experiment yeah, maybe we can, I can grab some of the other kinds, or craft some of the other kinds of windows, and we can try that next stream. But for now, okay, I think that's a good position to have the windows there. And let's take a look at this desk setup. So what do we want here? We want, we said we wanted a computer desk, right? Like a workstation. Oh, can I go to the door? Oh yeah. Let me go. You want me to, oh, to stand near the door, like as if I walked in? Yeah, so boom. So if I like loaded into the room, I'd be, you never load into the room right at the door, so you'd probably load in like about here. So it'd be like this, right? And this does still feel a little close, so I would probably push it back even more, but it doesn't feel as close as the other one did, right? Like I think the other one felt really, really like in your face. So this will probably get nudged back a bit. But I think it does have a nice feel of that kind of big industrial bay, I think bay window? If anyone knows the term of what those humongous factory windows, those humongous windows are in like lofted, you know, apartments that are built in old factories and stuff. Also, one moment, I'm gonna take a quick drink of water. Yeah, I'm kind of blanking on the name too, but that's okay. We'll, yeah, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll figure out before next stream. And so what we want to do here is we need a desk and we need a computer. Let's see, what are the elements? What are like essential elements of a desk, right? Like a computer workstation that a artist or a creator would need. We need a desk, a computer monitor, a chair. I mean, to be honest, that's pretty much it in some sense, at the most bare bones minimum. But I think it'd be nice to also give a little bit of like an extended desk space that feels like there's maybe some papers or some books or something, research material, right? So it doesn't just feel like someone just plopped down like a folding chair, or a folding table and a computer in the middle of a room. We want it to feel like an actual built-out workstation where someone is actually doing stuff. So I think that's why we kind of wanted to kind of get this idea of like a bend. So you have like the computer workstation here, you'd sit about here, computer under here, or something like that. An extended workbench area here with some clutter on it, maybe some paperwork or something. Maybe a pile of books to give it that researcher element. Let's also check our item slots. Oh my god, we're at 40 out of 100. That is concerning, because, you know. Okay, I think though it's okay, it's okay. We may need to trim some things out or truncate some stuff, but let's just see where this goes, right? To create a computer screen, I've seen it done a bunch of different ways. But so let's see, one idea for a computer screen is you take paintings or anything that's like these wall-mounted stuff, and you flip it around, and you basically get a monitor that is turned off, right? So for example, you might have this little butterfly specimen here, right? The butterfly specimen, right? It's a tiny little rectangle. But if you look at the back of the rectangle, there is no more butterfly. And so you now just have like an actual, like just like a blank rectangle. And it can be dyed. So if you dye this black and you put 2 or 3 of them next to each other and you float them close enough to a wall where people don't really have a vantage point where they'd see the butterfly, you get this floating screen that looks, it admittedly is off, but it looks like a small monitor floating there. So that's probably like the simplest one that I can think of. Shout out, I believe, to Sint, who I think that's where I am referencing that from. I think he did a dorm room build where he did the butterflies as monitors. I don't know for sure if he was the first one to do that, but that is, I believe, for the first time I saw the butterfly specimens specifically being used as a monitor. So give a shout out there. Sintslap, I believe, is his Twitter, at Sintslap on Twitter. And so that's the thing, we could use that as a monitor. There's also, like, if we wanted a bigger monitor, there's probably some other, like, other things here we could use, like maybe this. I don't know, does this, the back of this look interesting? Probably not dark though. Oh, actually kind of is. I don't know. Looks like it's a bit distressed though. I think that's kind of like not the clean look we need. So some kind of combination though of flipping wall-mounted items around is probably the simplest solution to this. Is creating a computer monitor. Oh, I've also seen this. People using these maps, or is it the frames? I think your frames. Okay, something like these, right? Like this, and you flip them. There it is, backwards. Then you get the monitor. Same thing. Only thing is these can't be dyed, so they would be like a brown monitor instead of a black monitor, which typically computers kind of have. If they're off, they have a, it's like a black screen. Oh yeah, you saw that too, Azzy? Yeah, I think it got a lot of traction. The dorm, are you talking about the dorm room that he made? Something else though, something that I kind of was hoping to do was I kind of wanted, like how I started this stream and I was sitting here next to this, I kind of thought it'd be cool if we could figure out a way to make a computer screen that that I could be sitting at, like as if I was, you know, streaming or sitting or working or something and then getting up to talk to everybody. So I think it'd be cool if we had something that actually did illuminate, so that way when you see me sitting here, like my face would be a bit illuminated as if the screen is actually on. I don't know if that's going to be possible in here or with our, given our item slot limitation, but it's something that I wanted to kind of keep in mind. Like if I could think of a way to do it like that, I think it'd be neat. It's a subtle detail, but I think it would add a lot if we were able to somehow work in that sense of the monitor actually being on. Dang, yeah, see these picture frames too would actually be perfect, but again, they can't be dyed, so I think it might not work that well. Something that comes to mind though is potentially we have this as the frame, and then inside here we have two butterfly specimens, like one right here, one right here, and then you get a trim around the monitor edge, and then you'd have the black monitor, the actual screen portion, right? The black butterflies, and that might, from a distance, register more as like an actual screen because it has like a, you know, frame around it. Yeah, you know, maybe I'll try to find the image of that on Twitter, and then we can use that on stream and post it up, showing it next time. Let's just see where I remember there was I'm blanking on the name. There's these screens from Omega, the monitors, and you can get it as a housing item. I want to say, they're probably, it's probably an indoor furnishing in the random section here. Where would it be? Do you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I forget what they're called though, but it's like, Yeah. Oh, is that literally what it's called? I know that's the mount, right? Amphi. Yeah. Is that it? Yes. Thank you both. Thank you. And welcome, by the way. First time chatter. Amphi. Amphi. Am I saying that correctly? Let me know how to pronounce, how you want me to say your name, but welcome by the way to the stream. Thanks. Oh, amphibian. Okay, amphi. Cool. Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it is the level checker. Okay, so yeah, so like the level checker thing here. So I know I've seen this used in some people's builds as, you know, like almost LED lighting. And so I did kind of think maybe we could do something with that, right? Where maybe we could build that into the screen to make it have that screen glow look. Like I wonder if there's a way to put a couple of these even like 2 of these next to each other. Like one like this, right? And then one that's like next to it, but just slightly angled. And then maybe we'd have it be like a curved screen. That's a continuous thing. Because it's, I mean, I guess we could also have it where it's a segmented screen, right? A screen here and a screen here, and it's kind of like a grid. I know some people do that where they have like 5 monitors and it's all arranged, right? That is also legit gamer look as well. But we could try that, or we could even just try having, you know, two of these next to each other, right? And maybe like just angle them just so the screen part at least feels like it's continuous. That'd be interesting. Do you guys know where to get these? Are they craftable, or are they... I've never used these before, I don't think. Do you know where you can... Cool, that'd be great, yeah. And I can try to grab some then for next stream. At least like a, you know, 2 or 3, and then we can play around with them. And I notice right now the screen is off. If anybody happens to know, is it a toggle, right? Like it's, I'm pretty sure I've been in places that use these and it's just always on. The screen is just permanently on, which is actually perfect, because I think that's nice that the screen could just stay on. Because, okay, another option for this is using Windows. Is actually using these from earlier, right? So another option to create a screen would just be to use these, which actually do have that illuminated monitor look, although it's a little crazy looking, right? Like that's a little dramatic with the light rays firing out from it. That's the problem there. But I have seen, I think, this done as well, where you have someone use, you know, like this, and then maybe like put 2 or something next to each other, and it creates this wide flat screen kind of look. And it does illuminate, but it has the light rays, which I think we put it on the ground. Okay, we could do the flip it backwards thing, right? Where the light rays will be hidden. But it also will just turn off at night. And okay, we can get on the market board. Okay, that's cool. I'm kind of just curious, does it say where they naturally come from? Are they just a random... Are they a drop from Omega? I mean, that'd make a lot of sense if they were. Delta Escape drop? Okay. Huh. You do Delta Escape then, huh? Although, yeah, I can just get them on the market board. That's fine. Time versus money kind of thing, right? It was not worth a massive detour if it's going to derail a whole day. Okay, but I think I'd like to play around with the level checker maybe and see if we can come up with something like that. If not, I don't know. Having a screen off is not the biggest deal. Then below the screen, we want something that works as a monitor stand, right? Or something that kind of holds it up. And so I think a lot of people use different kinds of tabletop items I've seen. Let's just get an open here. Can this work? Can I get like this? Okay. And then we... Oh, okay, so like the... instead of trading in for like the weapons or something, you could just trade those gears and the whatever drops you get for the level checker as an option. Got it, okay. Alright, well, yeah, I'll try to pick up a couple of those before next stream, along with butterflies and maybe if I think of some other paintings or something to use. And I think, like, for the stand, it'll probably be something like one of these things, right? You put the butterflies or the whatever screen in front of this, and just this part pokes at the bottom, and you get a monitor base? Base, I guess? Would that be the term? This is an obvious one, right? That's like a very simple little cross stand. And maybe the light could shine through. It might get blocked though. But if there's a way we can figure out a position of this to where the light will actually illuminate our face, then that actually kills two birds with one stone in a way. That'd be kind of neat. Okay, here we go. Looking through all these. No. It's kind of got the right shape, but I'm not sure if like most people's like the stand arm doesn't really glow, so that's kind of a bit strange. Here we go, another like standard looking base right there. Oasis lantern. This is something I want to put on the desk. That'd be kind of cute, just, you know, little details on the desk. That's a new little addition. Plants. Let's see, I don't know. Any of the plants or something work? Like the base right there. I mean, that does feel like a more substantial base, but we need to hide the whole flowers, so probably wouldn't work. Yeah, exactly, Azzy, yeah. I think that'd be like a really good just desktop clutter item, right? So definitely keep that in mind. Oh, ooh, actually, maybe it's one of these, right? So something like with that candle thing, right? So this does have like a stand feel, but it feels a little unstable because it's just like a little cross thing. Or it might come across as looking a little unstable. But now looking at one of these, like these stuffed toys, was that where I was at? Yeah, these, right? Where did it just go? I just lost it. Where was I? Was I in plants? I think I was in plants. Or no, was I not? What item was I just looking at? Anyone know? I should have made note of that before I switch back. I think it was one of these things though, right? Okay, but what the point anyway though there was that it had the little cross thing at the bottom, but it had more of like an actual foot to it, which made it feel more supported, and I did like that. I think that would make it more believable that it's actually holding up a monitor. Oh, here we go. Here's one of these, I think. Probably like a vase. There we go, this is it. Tomato King flower vase. Okay, yeah, but see, like that, I don't know. That has the little cross bit, but it also feels a little bit more... a bit more of a substantial base. We'll use dragon pieces. Based. The dragon piece? Oh, okay, the dragon the the chess piece, right? This one. Or there's the rook one as well, right? I think. Okay, let's try the searching piece. Yeah, now that you mention it, that is a good point. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, Dragoon. Sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, Dragoon piece. There you go. That's the one right there, right? Yeah, because, yeah, no, that makes more sense. Boom, right there. And yeah, that does feel, like, sturdy. What does the rook look like? Oh, I see. Yeah, that one is too fat looking. That looks a little too chonky, per se. This is also not a bad move, right? Like, I think that could be interesting, this wyvern piece. Like, it's actually kind of cool, because potentially if you poke a little bit of this out, it looks like it's like a two-pronged thing that's propping it up. It might look a little bit interesting to add a little bit of visual flair, so it feels like a monitor that's, you know, held up by, instead of just like a single, you know, cylinder, it's kind of actually propped up by little prongs. That could be kind of cool. Just again, you know, that Final Fantasy flair to it, right? And these can all be dyed, right? So yeah, you could probably just pop this into black or something. Boom, right there, right? And then you'd have butterfly, maybe a light source behind it or something. On the desk. Up on a desk like this, right there. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do just straight monitors, right? That are just plain old computer monitors, but I haven't seen... I don't know if I've seen anybody do one that's like a little bit more, you know, the Final Fantasy thing, like a fantasy based on a reality, right? So glamming it up in a little way that you may not normally see in the real world. So that could be a neat little touch that we add to ours. All right, so I'll try to grab a wyvern piece and a dragoon piece. Couldn't hurt to just have all these different ones, and we can just plop them down and just see what feels right. And maybe I'll grab some clutter, and then I think I may take a look outside the stream just to nudge this on a little bit. I'll take a look at some fish for the tank. I'll just like grab a couple of different selections, then we can take a look at them together. But I'll narrow it down so we don't have to look through the whole catalog. Same thing with like items to maybe make a bench or like you know, the actual desk part here. I'll try to go through some of the items and kind of just see a couple, narrow it down, so that way we're not starting from scratch. Unless, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys like what? I mean, would you like it if I pre-filter some things? Or do you enjoy listening to or watching me sift through from scratch all these items, right? From like, I've not looked at any of these fish in the fish tank. Let's go through all of them. And we'll probably nix out a lot right away, but I mean, kind of curious if people would want to see, really want to see like all of the thought, every step, or if you'd rather just kind of get to the main thing. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, yeah, if you're enjoying it, then I will, I can maybe do like a, you know, some of both, right? A little bit of each. If it was universally like everyone says, you know, I don't really want to just watch you click through items, then I can do much more of like pre-planning for all of these, and you basically just like watch me put it together. But I think a lot of the feedback I got when I was initially talking about like doing a, hey, Seneki! Welcome, welcome. I'm going a little over time here, so but I'm glad that meant that you could pop in. Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm kind of just wrapping up here, but I'm just asking the audience too if you would like to see me, you know, build everything from pure scratch, like bit by every single bit of thinking, right? Including clicking through one by one the items and saying why one does or doesn't work, or if I should pre-build it a bit and have it be more, at times, like maybe building like a Lego set or that kind of thing, right? Where I kind of have the idea of it. It wouldn't be a blueprint like that, but you know, it would speed it along, but you wouldn't see as much of all of the little thoughts in between. Amphi, do you, or can I call you Amphi? Do you want to say Amphi? You have any thought there? Sounds like you do some housing too. Curious what you think you might enjoy seeing. What do you think? You've watched other housing streams, or even just from so far on here, I mean... Fair enough, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, awesome! Cool! What are you building, if you don't mind me asking? Aw. Well, I hope you're not saying that in putting yourself down. I hope it's like a vibe you're going for, right? You want it to look like dilapidated. Okay, yeah. I know, no, okay, I figured that's probably what you were going for. That sounds cool. I'd really love to see what you're doing there. So I'm working, just in case anyone you know, wants to know or is curious, but sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. I am working on building the Discord, so that way we would have like a place where we could, for example, right now I'd be like, here, could you drop like a screenshot of your work in progress there, even if it's just to me or something. Oh yeah, see, or there, Azzy, like you dropping a screenshot of what you're making. Because I would love to have like a place where we can also show people, you know, who are in the chat, like share what they're working on if they want, so we could see it. Or maybe, you know, we could have, it's like a, you know, in-person help desk for little things and stuff. Especially like in the case of like Amphi here, like if you're building with me on stream, that's great. That's what I do with FFXIV, right? I would be building all night long and just play their podcast back to back to back. And I love that energy. I think that's like, a lot of times it would help me get unstuck by listening to other creatives working, and something they would say, even if it has nothing to do seemingly with what I'm doing, I might find a way to connect it and stuff. But yeah, so I'm working on building a Discord out like that, and then hopefully we could share. I'd love to see like what you have there, the shabbiest, crappiest looking fishing shack. I have never heard of anyone going for that look, but I'm really intrigued in what you're trying for that. And same with you, Azzy. I want to see what your photo studio is turning out like, and or whatever else you may be building or have built. And I know Seneki too. I know you've been doing some building. I think you finished your latest build. I haven't seen it yet. You said that you had finished it to me in Discord, but yeah, I'd love to see. Yeah, well, I'd love to see that. We could even show it on stream too. You know, in the future, if you'd like. Not right now, actually. Wow, I actually read that like a, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, not. Unfortunately, right now, I'm going to actually have to wrap this up, and then I have an IRL thing I need to get going to. But very very soon. Maybe tomorrow or Wednesday or something. I'd love to come and take a look at what you have. And yeah, Amphi too. You know, you can message me, and I'd love to come potentially take a look, or at the very least, you know, hey, pop in here again next time. Which is a great segue. If I do say so myself, into that I'm gonna wrap up this stream, but I will be back again, same time, same block of time, 4 to 6 p.m. PST, which is 7 to 9 EST, this Wednesday. So, hey, thank you so much for the follow, Amphi. Appreciate that. We're getting so close. We're getting so close to affiliate. I think I'm at like 42 out of 50 or something follows. I can't see the number actually total right now, but it's something pretty close. So every bit helps, and I appreciate you. And great that you followed me on Twitter too. If anyone here hasn't followed me on Twitter as well, that's where I'm going to be posting most of my schedule and upcoming things, including upcoming DJ set March 10th at Ichi Nightclub, which I talked about earlier in this stream. If you weren't here for that, you can watch the VOD after. I'll put it up later tonight, I think, but you can watch the VOD of this stream. And I went over to Ichi and we broke down and took a look. I look at behind the scenes, some of the thoughts and stuff behind what I was thinking as I was building that. And I'll be performing there, DJing, on March 10th. So come check us out if you're interested in that. But yeah, as far as housing is concerned, Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. PST, 7 to 9 p.m. EST. Would love to have all of you guys who are here today also there on that stream. Feel free to tell your friends especially if you think that they would dig this, if they want to put it on as background noise, or if you think they might be inspired, or if you want them to just take a look at what housing is about. I mean, then that'd be wonderful. Yeah, I'm just getting started here. This is my 3rd housing stream ever, and so still figuring it all out, but I hope it's been entertaining so far. I'm loving the progress we're making on a lot of this stuff. I hope people learn something. So, and yeah, I look forward to seeing a lot of you back then, this coming Wednesday and in future streams. And do I have anything else to announce? Maybe nothing. I think that's pretty much the recap for right now. Yep, there you go. There's a shout out from Roth himself, the owner of the nightclub I'll be DJing at, and the nightclub that I built. So it's a special kind of feeling to be performing in a space that you yourself designed. And I think that's some part of like also why I wanted to start this stream too, was I wanted to build this collection of spaces where we can all hang out together and kind of have helped build it together, you know, with your guys' input on stream and everything. My sort of dream with all of this would be that not just Ichi, but a lot of these spaces become social hubs and places that you want to come and hang out with your friends and watch concerts on the stage, or watch movies in the movie theater. Watch my previous VOD if you're curious about that. Did we go there? We might not. We went to the stage at the end of last VOD, but yeah. So I hope you're excited. I hope that's exciting, the idea of these spaces being built out, and hopefully some place that you're looking forward to maybe coming to hang out or something. Yeah, for now, for today, that's gonna be all. Thank you all so much. If anyone hasn't followed me on Twitter and here on Twitch, I'd love it if you would. I'll be streaming hopefully regularly for housing, hopefully starting soon regularly DJing. But until this Wednesday, I'll say goodbye. Have a great rest of night. Thank you all. And yeah, take care. Actually, I'm still here. I just say, yeah, you're very welcome, Amphi. Glad you liked it. And to Lulu, if you are watching this in the future, since Roth linked you, I hope you enjoyed it as well. And to anybody, I suppose, who watches this in the future, I hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoyed the vibe. Hope you learned something. All right, going for real now. Bye-bye, everyone.